What's going on, everybody? It's Triple Crown 24 back today with a new installment in my Tigers Autograph Showcase series. Today's episode is going to relate back to the subject of my player collection. More on that in a minute, but before I get started, I do have to give a special shout out to a very good friend of mine. His name is Card Cutter. You guys are probably familiar with him. He recently got me back one of these autographs via his PSA DNA submissions through his Facebook group Slab City. And if you guys are interested in getting any of your autographs authenticated, I would highly recommend that you go through him. He's also a good friend because, well, for many reasons, but Garrett also inspired me to pick these back up and start doing more of these videos. I kind of been slacking with these lately, but he had some very kind words about this series, I should say. And I'm going to keep going with it because of people like him and everyone else out there who watches these and supports me. I greatly appreciate it. So, what is the theme of today's episode? Well, you might see that the title is Road to 500. And these are some of Miggy's teammates that have been with him on his road to 500 home runs. Of course, he reached that milestone a couple weeks ago. So, I wanted to show off some of those here today. Standard format of 3 players as usual, so let's go ahead and get started. The first one back is actually the card I was talking about earlier that had come back from Slab City, and it is the D-Train, Dontrelle Willis. So you see here, he is on the 2008 Topps there with the Tigers. Not easy to find a D-Train card. This is one of those I bought off of eBay, and it looked pretty good. I don't imagine there are too many people out there who are willing to fake a Dontrelle Willis autograph. It just doesn't seem like something that people would do, but I got it slabbed just in case, and I did my homework on it, and it came back authentic, which is good because I really would have been disappointed to have to pay the grading fee and not get this slabbed. So let's talk about the D-Train. He came over in the Cabrera trade as well as the second piece, and Dontrelle Willis at the time was a very bright young pitcher. He'd been in the league for a few years, one of the most electric arms in the game, and he was a lefty, so Tigers really liked him. They thought he'd be a big boost to their rotation, and kind of got overshadowed because Miggy was the centerpiece of the deal. So I was actually there when I can pinpoint the moment that things kind of went south for Dontrelle Willis. It was actually at a game early in April of 2008. So this is his first season with the Tigers. I was actually in Chicago with my dad at a White Sox-Tigers game. It was bitter cold outside, and the Tigers were off to a miserable start. This year, after the huge offseason with Miggy and Willis coming over, and then you had guys like Edgar Renteria who had signed. You got Jock Jones. There were a lot of nice signings by the Tigers. They come out of the gate getting swept by the Royals at home, which the Royals were one of the worst teams in baseball at the time. And then they lost 4 more straight. So they're sitting at a ugly 0-7 start, and heading into this game, they're 2-10. Willis, in the first inning, something's not right. He's going really slow with his windup and everything. Pitching coach comes out and they pull him. And I kind of remember looking over to my dad being like, this is not good, because he didn't even make it out of the first inning. The White Sox had gotten a few hits off him, but it wasn't like they put up a huge crooked number in the first inning and all of a sudden, they had to pull him out just to try to salvage this game early on. No, it was just kind of very bizarre. And then from there, he battled a lot of injuries and didn't last too long with the Tigers. He was traded within a few years and definitely never really showed the stuff that he had shown with the Marlins. But I will always associate Willis as Miggy's teammate, since he came over in that deal and was with him when they both kind of came up together with the Marlins. So there you go, started off with that one. Second one here, Miggy's in the 500 home run club. This is another member of the 500 home run club who actually played for the Tigers. It would be Gary Sheffield. Here's his autograph on the 2008 Topps. Again, a guy, he's a fairly tough autograph. Willis is not the easiest autograph himself. Sheffield, especially hard to find him in a Tigers uniform. How I found this one? Well, I got it in person actually back in 2009 at spring training. I had went during the first week of spring training. I was a youngster, and I got Sheffield to sign. It was very nice. Signed for everyone, and it was actually only a few weeks later that he was released by the Tigers to kind of make way for some younger guys who were going to play, and too much competition at the DH spot, and then Sheffield not really able to play the outfield anymore at this advanced point in his career. So he was let go, and Sheffield had actually finished the season on the doorstep of 500 home runs. So we were thinking that maybe he would actually do it as a Tiger, but did not quite pan out. Instead, he went to the Mets and hit that home run. Now, Sheffield's donned many different caps over the course of his career. I typically don't associate him as a Mets player. I tend to think of like the Brewers and the Yankees when I think of Sheffield, and of course the Tigers because I'm a fan of the Tigers. But Miggy and Sheffield did have one season together. It was, again, that dreaded 2008 season that I mentioned. The Tigers would go on to finish that season 74 and 88. Story about Sheffield is actually in 2008, I had gone on another road trip a few weeks later with my dad to go see the Tigers play the Yankees on a little East Coast trip. So I was able to go to Yankee Stadium in the final year of the OG Yankee Stadium. And I remember when Sheffield came up to bat, of course, being an ex-Yankee, the Yankee fans greeted him as only Yankee fans would, with a chorus of boos. But there were also some Tigers fans that were there that were also booing Gary Sheffield. So this poor guy, he didn't really have too many friends in the building that night. He didn't have the best season with the Tigers in 2008. He was actually pretty good in 2007, all things considered. But 2008 was kind of when the writing was on the wall that they needed to move on from him and his contract. So Chef was a great player in his career. In my opinion, he'll be in the Hall of Fame one day. But he's also a member of the 500 Home Run Club and had a brief stint there with Miggy. Since we're talking about the 500 home run today, figured it would be a good time to show off my Sheffield autograph. And then this one is a guy who has been both a coach for Miggy and a player with Miggy. That would be, I'm going to get my card stand here for this one, probably the lesser known among the three names I have shown off today, Ramon Santiago. Santi was a member of the 2006 World Series bound team that we won't talk about what happened once they reached the World Series, but we'll call him the 2006 American League Championship team. He had a few different stints with the Tigers. He was actually one of the last remnants of that 2003 team that was the worst in Tigers history. He was just breaking into the league at that time. But served as a promising young utility guy, and that was really his role for a very long time. He came back to the Tigers in the early part of the previous decade, and then rejoined them a few years later as a coach after he had a little run there with the Reds after the Tigers had let him go in free agency. So Santiago was there. I think he's the first base coach now. They've kind of shifted him around. He's been at first base and third base just because the Tigers have had two coaches leave for new coaching jobs throughout the course of this season. So they've kind of had to play musical chairs with their coaches at some points this season. But I know that Santiago has been an ally of Miggy's for quite some time now. So he was able to see Miggy both when he kind of first came with the Tigers back in 2008. Then again, during the Triple Crown year, a little piece of trivia here, in the final game of the 2012 season, when Cabrera was pulled out in the fourth inning and got his curtain call from the Royals fans that I've talked about before in this series, Santiago was the defensive replacement for him at third base in that game. So a little trivia for you there. And then, of course, again, as a coach here, as Miggy winds down his career. So he's been able to kind of be a part of some of the big moments along Miguel's career. And it's definitely been a very key role player for the Tigers throughout the course of his tenure as both a coach and a player. So that wraps it up for me today, guys. I hope you enjoyed this video today. It was fun to make one of these again. I really did miss it, so I'll try to do these a little bit more frequently than I have. But until next time, I'll see you guys later. Take care, stay safe, and be kind.